Alright, so let's go ahead and break it off. This is the first video. Now next time I'll go more in depth next week on some videos, and they'll be their own separate entity videos. But I'm going to go ahead and break it down right now. I'm going to start off with my struggle alert. I only see really 2 teams being on the struggle alert this week. Remember that the struggle alert is not saying that I'm calling the upset. I'm saying if you watch this game, you could possibly see an upset, or you could see a top quality team struggle with a team that's supposed to be inferior. So, and saying that, I think that Nebraska may have a problem with Southern Miss. I think in the end, so what's going to kill Southern Miss is depth. They're not going to have the depth that Nebraska is going to have. But Southern Miss is a quality team, and you can definitely see where, you know, maybe Nebraska might struggle. It's definitely going to be a test. I definitely don't think Nebraska should overlook Southern Miss. Now, the next game that I'm looking at, obviously I'm an SEC fan. We got the ACC and the SEC battling, and I really believe that Auburn's got a damn good shot at taking down Clemson, especially with their top wide receiver, All-American wide receiver, Sammy Watkins, not being involved. So in saying that, those are kind of like the 2 games that I got this week. Some weeks it'll be 1, some weeks it'll be 10. You never know. Alright, let's move on to some other games, big games. Hawaii, USC. USC's going to clobber them, more than likely, so it's not really going to be a good game. You got, what, Oregon? Oregon is playing, hold on, I'll be better prepared next week, but Oregon's got a fairly weak team, actually, but I'm going to watch it. Arkansas State. Arkansas State went to a bowl game last year. I believe they lost. I don't remember. I have to look up the stats, but I just want to see what Oregon State's running this year, what they got. So I'll definitely be paying attention to that game, especially since it's a later game. I'll be able to watch it. That's good for me. The later the better. So, and in saying that, I mean, the only really other games I really need to talk about, I mean, we can talk about some Thursday's game real quick. South Carolina barely getting by Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt looked tough. They got a program this year that come out and hit you in the mouth. I think where Vanderbilt kind of fell off, especially with South Carolina, is the depth thing. You know, the same thing that you're going to see with Southern Miss falling off with Nebraska, I think, is depth. Depth is what hurt them in that game. And they'll get there. You know, Vanderbilt's a good school, a very good medical school. So, they definitely got some recruiting qualities. And in the past, I would say 5 years, they've gotten a lot better. So let's move on to the big game, the game that you know matters to me and probably matters to anybody who's watching this channel. Everybody want to see it. And one thing that makes me mad about this game is the whatever his name is, Toussaint, and their backup end. They went ahead and suspended them, which I think was a good call. But it just sucks for us Alabama fans because I don't want to hear the excuses. Well, we didn't have a running back in there. Well, you do have a running back that was supposed to start last year, didn't because of injuries, and he will be back. So that kind of kills the excuse factor, but I know that there'll always be excuses there. And I'll tell you what, one man doesn't win the game. If you took Lacey out, I still wouldn't be afraid of Michigan right now. So, I'm going to go ahead and give you what to look for as far as both teams, definitely more on the Alabama side because I'm an Alabama fan, I'm more excited about that. What I'm looking for, kicking game. Our kicking game for the past 2 or 3 years have been horrible. I want to see a kickoff go for a touchback, and not because of wind or the hand of God. You know, I want to see some touchbacks this year. So I'm going to be looking at the kicking game. That's going to be the first thing I'm watching, especially if Alabama kicks off first. Excuse me. I'm looking at the kicking game. That's going to be a key factor for Alabama this season, especially with a new defense. You know, football's a game of field position. Every yard counts. So, in saying that, I think that that'll be something that people are not factoring in. Alabama has not had a great kicking game since we've been winning national championships and going to the SEC championships. We've just not had great kickers. This year we're supposed to have a good quality kicker. We'll see. Hopefully they did their recruiting like they're supposed to. McCarron, you know, was on and off. I would say he was definitely playing good ball all last season. In the SEC or in the national championship was basically an SEC championship. The national championship game against LSU, he was flawless, and I'm hoping that this is his breakout year. I'm thinking that, or I'm going to go ahead and call it now, that he's going to make a run at the Heisman, a decent run, and I'm not talking about you know, maybe middle of the year. I'm talking about right from the beginning. He's gonna get his name out there. You know, probably if he can prove himself again against an LSU and an Arkansas, that'll definitely move him up there. And I'm gonna go ahead and talk about our running game. You know, obviously we got Lacy this year. You know, our main players have moved on. There's no more Ingram. There's no more Trent Richardson. Now it's Lacy's turn to step up. And you're not seeing the impact, the thunder, the excitement around them at Lacy as you did with other players. Because he's good, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't had that explosiveness that everybody seen from, you know, Ingram and seen from Trent Richardson early in his younger years, you know, sophomore year, freshman year, junior year. But there's another thing that the press has forgot about. We got a little running back called D. White, who's pretty good. He's got some speed. You let him get out to the corners, he can make some moves. And then you also got Fowler, which will run you over. So this year we're gonna have different style of runners. Although Trent Richardson was a run you over running back, not really as tall, and he had the size obviously and the strength, but he wasn't just as big, as bulky and tall as like a Fowler or a Lacy. So now you got these two basically bowling balls coming through. I'm gonna be watching that. Okay, the other thing obviously is secondary. Everybody's talking about, will Alabama's defense be able to perform like they did last year? You know, we're only having 4 returning starters out of the whole defense. I think we got 11 total starters for the whole team, but only 4 returning starters for defense. So secondary, everybody's talking about our secondary. Everybody was talking about our freaking secondary in 2010 after the national championship. We only had 2 returning starters, and we kicked ass. Okay, we had number 5th rank, I guess, points against last year, or in 2010, excuse me. And if you remember, at the beginning of the season, almost nobody could score a touchdown on us. So, in saying that, I'm not really worried about our secondary. They've had good quality leadership and people to follow. They've got big shoes to fill, but they also were watching those people last year, and they learned how to fill those shoes. So, I think that they put in work, and under the, you know, the Saban program, they'll be okay. So, we covered kicking, we covered running, we covered McCarron's play, we covered the secondary. Our O-line, obviously, phenomenal, and definitely, again, going back to the kicking game, more focused on kickoffs, but we improved a little bit on field goal, so hopefully we'll be okay in that department too. I remember last year there was a real struggle, especially with field goals. So, you know, we gotta correct that issue. Okay, so other than that, all I got to say is roll tide. Michigan, you're definitely going to have some problems. Your O-line's going to have some problems against our defense. You just are. You don't have the size, the depth, or the athletic ability up front to handle these Alabama 4. I just don't believe you will. Denard Robinson, containing him. Obviously, that's going to be rough, but Denard Robinson, you know, he's got this thing where he's too fast for shoelaces. Pfft, I'm sorry, you just haven't ran against an SEC defense. There's nothing but speed and size. We have the best defenses in the world, and I'm telling you right now, I hope they worked on it, but if you watched Denard Robinson play last year, that junk where he throws it off of his back foot and it floats in the air for like 4 seconds and there's a jump ball, is not going to work against our 3rd string SEC defenders. I'm telling you that right now. I'm telling you that right now. You can have some damn good wide receivers, but if you float that ball up there against an SEC defense, I'm gonna call 2 picks in this game. It's gonna happen. 2 picks. Guaranteed. Especially if he didn't fix his issues that he had last year that everybody thought was great passing. I don't know how they get that. You know, last year before I found out that Michigan was going to be playing Alabama, I looked at the game and I said, you know what, I watched Denard Robinson play 2 or 3 games, and when I seen that freaking crap balls that he was throwing, I was like, it's never working in the SEC. I wish they would play an SEC team. I wish they'd make it to a bowl game and play an SEC team so he could throw that. Well, I get my chance. Denard Robinson, boom. So we'll see against one of the best SEC teams. So in saying that, yeah, they lost a couple players. I don't see a struggle with Michigan, but I can see a good game and a fun game to watch, especially if Alabama wins. Roll Tide, baby. Y'all have